Gypsy Rose, the woman whose chilling case is a story of deceit and desperation. Gypsy's tragic past has gripped the world, but what's even more intriguing are the predictions that surfaced in the aftermath of her trial. As we all know, Gypsy quickly rose to influencer status after being released from prison. The girl has somehow garnered a following because of how crazy her life story was, and now that we see her thriving, there is a real possibility that she will not continue getting the love and support of all these people if some disturbing things from the case are revealed. But what do you guys think? This era in technology has made it extremely easy for people to find the problematic past of celebrities, which gets them cancelled just as quickly as they gain popularity. And on top of that, the fact that she is getting so much attention even after participating in a serious crime is crazy to think about. Fast track fame, especially in the digital age, really does expose every detail and wrong move. And for Gypsy Rose, this intense scrutiny might just catalyze her downfall. Do you think that all the attention she is now receiving will pressure her to meet the expectations of all her fans and other people who are invested in her life? There's also the possibility that she most likely doesn't care about living her life to anyone else's standards now that she is free and allowed to act however she wants to. This can lead to a flip of opinions where people start acting entitled to what she chooses to do and validate or invalidate her. The Gypsy Rose story reminds us of the thin line between notoriety and fame and how social media platforms can blur that distinction. As her following grows, every aspect of her life is likely to be amplified, including those she might prefer remain in the shadows. Makes you wonder if giving someone with such a complex and controversial past a platform serves as redemption or just another form of exploitation. People's fascination with true crime stories propels individuals like Gypsy into the spotlight, yet we should ask if we're really prepared for the potential consequences of this exposure. Let's dive deeper into this concept and discuss the intricate dance between public interest, personal privacy, and the right to start anew. Are we as an audience ready to reckon with the responsibility that comes with our gaze? Another thing that is crazy to think about is that she is trending on social media and being called an icon among other things for her actions. Obviously, I'm not saying that what she did is surprising or uncalled for considering the types of things she's had to endure her whole childhood, but in retrospect, it's crazy to glorify anyone who is guilty of committing any sort of crimes or who is participating in criminal activities. But what do you guys think? Is it safe to assume that as most trends, #Gypsy Rose will eventually fade out? Will it cause some crazy repercussions? I can't lie, this was one of the crazier true crime stories I've been keeping up with, but let me know what your thoughts are on this trending story. It's interesting to see how quickly a person can go from being an average citizen to becoming a trending topic on social media. In the case of Gypsy Rose, her story has captured the attention of people all over the world, and she has become somewhat of an icon in popular culture. But as we continue to discuss and dissect this true crime story, it's important to not forget the serious and disturbing nature of her actions. Gypsy was sentenced to 10 years for her involvement in the passing of her mother, Blanchard. And while it's understandable to sympathize with Gypsy for enduring years of manipulation by her mother, it's also important to remember that she still played a role in taking someone's life. Glorifying her as an icon or hero only serves to downplay the severity of her action. And as for whether the #Gypsy Rose trend will eventually fade out, it's hard to say. Trends on social media tend to come and go quickly, but the impact of this story may have lasting effects. Gypsy claimed that her mother had Munchausen syndrome by proxy, also called factitious disorder, imposed on another. This is a psychological disorder where a person, usually the parent or caregiver, makes up or causes an illness or injury in another person, often their child. The syndrome can have long-lasting and devastating effects on victims. The behavior exhibited by perpetrators of this disorder can be difficult to understand and even harder to detect. In many cases, the victim is a young child who is unable to speak up for themselves. Frequently, medical examinations provided ambiguous or even conflicting insights into Gypsy's health. It was so extreme that Didi would stop going to any medical professionals who doubted her daughter's condition. With her nursing background, she was able to convincingly articulate symptoms, and at times she administered medications to Gypsy that induced certain manifestations. With her commitment to finding out what else was wrong with her daughter, Didi was persuasive. She even told Gypsy to remain quiet during doctor's visits secrets, allowing Dee Dee to spin an intricate web of falsified medical narratives. To Rod Blanchard, Gypsy's father, Dee Dee presented Gypsy's illnesses as the result of a chromosomal disorder, garnering his admiration for her seemingly tireless care. And whenever relatives began suspecting the truth, noticing Gypsy's ability to walk, Dee Dee took drastic measures just to make sure they didn't become too suspicious about what exactly was going on. And because of this sort of upbringing, it may not seem too unlikely to think that Gypsy is going through some things on her own, and who knows how much this newfound attention can affect her or even trigger how she feels or behaves. She's living a completely new life outside of the control of her mother, and it's sad to think about, but it might be harder for her to adapt to a lifestyle she was not able to understand from her childhood. We can only hope she has a really good support system and all the resources available to her whenever she feels like it might be overwhelming. On top of her physical health, Gypsy may also be struggling with the psychological effects of being a victim of the syndrome. Dee Dee's manipulation and control over Gypsy has not only affected her physically, but also mentally. Gypsy may have difficulty trusting others and understanding what is real and what is not after living most of her life in a web of lies and deceit. She may also struggle with self-esteem and feelings of worthlessness, as she was constantly made to believe that she was sick and in need of constant care. This can lead to a lack of confidence in her own abilities and decisions. Gypsy may also face challenges in forming healthy relationships, as she was isolated from the outside world for most of her life. She may struggle with social skills and have a hard time trusting others, making it difficult for her to build meaningful connections. On top of that, Gypsy may also have trouble coping with the trauma of being controlled by her mother. This can lead to anxiety, depression, and other mental health issues that she will need support and therapy to overcome. Throughout her life, Gypsy has known two starkly different kinds of imprisonment. Originally at the mercy of her mother's controlling grip, and subsequently as a convict behind bars. Having spent over 8 years in the confines of a cell, Gypsy is now embracing her newfound freedom. Yet burdened with her involvement in her mother's passing, Gypsy feels compelled to clarify her life's tumultuous narrative. In a revealing docuseries, The Prison Confessions of Gypsy Rose Blanchard, she is seizing the opportunity to narrate her harrowing journey entirely in her own words. She stepped back into the free world in December after serving her time with a fresh start and a new partnership at the forefront. She started anew with Ryan Anderson, a 37-year-old educator, tying the knot while she was still behind bars, after connecting through a pen pal initiative in June 2022. Now, on the outside, Gypsy embarks on her new journey with Ryan by her side, helping her to adapt to everyday life while tackling an intense media circuit. Together with her husband and the executive producer of The Prison Confessions of Gypsy Rose Blanchard, Melissa Moore, Gypsy and Ryan's relationship was met with mixed reactions from the public, with some expressing concern over the age gap and others applauding Ryan for supporting Gypsy during her transition back into society. However, the couple remains determined to make their marriage work and build a future together. Despite facing challenges with adapting to life outside of prison, Gypsy remains optimistic about her future and is grateful for the support of her husband and the public. She has also become an advocate for prison reform, using her own experiences to shed light on issues within the system. Many familiar with the story have wondered why Gypsy resorted to taking the life of her mom instead of simply revealing the truth by standing up out of her wheelchair. Gypsy herself shared, "It was more than fear, it was the belief that no one would believe my words against hers. I felt trapped, not just in the chair, but in the life she had created for me." Gypsy wasn't just under physical watch, her mind was ensnared. Dee Dee insisted her daughter had the mentality of a 7-year-old despite Gypsy's normal intelligence. In public, a hand squeeze from Dee Dee was a silent command for Gypsy to remain silent. Dr. Mark Feldman, a specialist in deceptive disorders, likens Gypsy's experience to that of a hostage situation, a life of immeasurable control and fabrications that left Gypsy desperate for freedom, a desperation that led to a tragic, dramatic climax. Gypsy's situation is a prime example of how an individual can become trapped in a cycle of manipulation and lies, leading to extreme actions that they may not have otherwise taken. In a dramatic twist revealed through Gypsy's medical history, the records painted a stark picture of the years of suffering she had endured. This evidence was pivotal for her defense, leading to a plea agreement on the charges linked to her mother's demise. In the year 2016, Gypsy accepted a plea and received a sentence of 10 years, a term of which she was required to serve 85%. She walked free, and her then boyfriend faced a stiffer penalty, and he was sentenced for life. Gypsy later confessed that it wasn't until she was freed from her mother's oppressive clutches that she fully grasped the magnitude of Dee Dee's deceit. She knew of some liberties like her ability to walk and her diet, but the lie of a leukemia diagnosis was a shock. Since gaining her freedom, Gypsy has found health and expressed that she found more autonomy behind bars than with her mother. Yet in a poignant exchange with Dr. Phil, when quizzed about her emotions towards her mother's passing, Gypsy's response was complex: sorrow over her mother's passing, but relief from being liberated from a life of manipulation. In the years following her release from prison, Gypsy has been working towards rebuilding her life and finding healing from the trauma she experienced. She has received support from various organizations and individuals who have been moved by her story. Despite the challenges she continues to face, Gypsy remains resilient and determined to make a positive impact in the world. She has become an advocate for victims of manipulation, bringing awareness to the issue and sharing her own experience to help others. If you've been captivated by the twists and turns of the Gypsy Rose Blanchard story, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more content that explores the intricate webs of true crime. Don't forget to click the bell icon to get notified. Share your thoughts and theories in the comments below. We love to hear from our viewers. And until next time, I'm your host, Jonina.